Good morning, Allison.
Good morning.
Your mic is hot. I love that. And did Robert get you updated on the content, on what we're covering, etc.?
Robert is pecking at me because I asked him to get me more participating. So we're at a lower level right this minute, but he has been pecking. I'm not sure what book y'all are on, but I was reading the fanatical prospecting. That's how far behind I am. I
That's
am
what we're
not,
on.
I am on that, but I'm probably not where you guys are. But
So
yes.
and I'm just gonna again, it's good because we got some new faces in here as well. One of them, kind of my house rules, is, if you will, is we get the book, and I love green highlighters. And we read the chapter, and I just grabbed a page and we highlight, you know, grab another page, just any random page I can find stuff I've highlighted. So that way, when we come in the room, we can look quickly and go, oh, yeah, this is what got my attention. And we can share with the room and talk about it. So we're on chapter 15, which, by the way, telephone prospecting excellence. It's all about why get on the phone, how get on the phone, what's getting in the way of getting on the phone, and what we're going to do to make those great conversations. So, who else has got something from the content? I thought you might speak up, Justin, and then Andres, you're next.
I really there was a number of things in the first half of this chapter that really stuck out to me. Right on page 154, it was like word for word of a really authentic, awesome conversation that we had yesterday with somebody who was bold enough to come right out and say, like, I'm afraid to pick up the phone and make cold calls, and and I'm apprehensive about calling the people that I know. And I think to a greater or lesser extent, most of us are affected by these things, and just like being real honest about it, I think is a big deal. And then you turn the page to 156, and the like bold headline at the top: nobody answers the phone that doesn't ring. So if you want, I think that's and it's kind of a catch-22, because people would like to be right. So we have our story, our garbage, that nobody answers the phone anymore. And if we don't make the calls, as long as we're not making the calls, then that's at least a little more true, because their phones didn't ring.
Yeah. And by the way, if we're also not reading the content, which some aren't, we're not getting the nuggets yet, I will always bring them into the room. So I love the opening of this chapter right out of the gate. How do you get a salesperson to stop working?
Put a phone in front of them.
Yeah, put a phone in front of them. Right? For thousands of salespeople, picking up the phone and calling a prospect is the most stressful part of their day. Many of these reluctant salespeople stare at the phone, secretly hoping that it will disappear. They procrastinate. They get their ducks in a row. They work to ensure that everything is perfect before they pick up the phone and dial. Any excuse, and I mean any excuse, to do something else takes a priority. I've shared with many of you before, in my political days, I was a political director, high level political consultant. I was running the campaign for the Attorney General of the state of California. And a candidate's number one job is to raise money, to pick up the phone and have conversations. And we had a 2-hour power block scheduled for him to do his primary job. And he failed to show up. He came back at the end of it with a new haircut because he had to get his hair cut rather than doing the work of prospecting. And as it says on page 158, the headline, nobody likes it. Get over it. This is the job you guys signed up for. Now, Andres, you're next. And then Carrie, I've seen your mic coming in and I've been muting you because there was a lot of background noise. I'll key you when you're ready, okay? What do you got, Andres?
Just wanted to say I love how he says, if you have the power hour schedule, be prepared, be ready. Have your list of contacts that you're going to make, be consistent, and follow the script straight to the point. Ask for what you want and shut up.
Yeah, this model in here, which I told you guys I was working on scripts, and I am. There's my notes on it. Get their attention by asking their name. Identify yourself. Hi, Felicia, check one. I'm Russ Collio, National Team Leader with the Renegade Real Estate Group. Tell them why you're calling. What's the purpose of our calls? The reason I'm calling is to set an appointment with you. You know, I've just seen statistics and read that the real estate industry is in real trouble right now and that agents are struggling. Okay, we're giving them the because now right out of this. And then ask for what you want. Okay? I believe that we can help this with you, and I would love to set an appointment to have a short meeting to learn about your real estate business and where there might be opportunities for us to help you. Does tomorrow at 3 or Thursday at 4 work better? If it's a database conversation. Hi, Carrie. This is Russ.
Oh,
With eXp Realty. The reason I'm calling is to set an appointment. I've discovered that you are in my phone, and I honestly don't know how we are connected, yet you are important enough that I saved your name and number. So I'd love for us to set an appointment to catch up so I can get to know you better and where I might be able to help you. Does today at 3 or tomorrow 4 work better? What if that was the script you had written out and you just went through your phone and any number you recognized or didn't recognize, boom, you ran with it? What are the possibilities? I'd love to hear from someone. If you made that call to every person in your phone, what are the possible outcomes from that conversation?
Some people would hang up on you and tell you to go somewhere.
Awesome. So what do you get to do with those, Dorothy?
I smile and laugh and say thank you and throw their number away.
Thank you. You get to clean up your phone database. How much fun would that be? What are other possibilities that might happen on that?
They might thank you for calling and have a great conversation and make a
Yeah.
great connection. And then now, guess who's top of mind when someone talks about buying or selling?
You get the appointment set. You have a great conversation at that appointment, and you begin building a relationship. We used to be so good at this when we were like ultra youngsters. It didn't matter who somebody was. You showed up to kindergarten and every kid was possibility. And you had great conversations and you took time and you built relationships and you made friendships. And somehow we've missed that. And it's time to plug back into it. Carrie, you're up.
okay. So I just wanted to say, Glenna and I were in there yesterday, for a couple hours at 2:00. And so I was just like, I was having, I have hard times sometimes. And so I was telling her, I said, because the very first call I made to do with that script, but I don't know what happened, but I wound up having to, I got voicemail. I wound up having to hang up because it was just a mess. So I hung up and then I started calling. I called my son and then I said, just don't answer the phone. I'm just going to practice my prospecting in your voicemail. So I did. So he let me do that. So I would call like him and start talking to him in his voicemail. And I would just, as soon as I made a mistake, I would stop and I would start over and do it again. And then I felt a little bit confident. And then so I would call a person. And then if I felt like I wasn't good with the person, then I would do it again. So I don't know.
But
That helps me.
here's the thing. You're using that as your backup crutch where now I don't have to prospect.
Well, it's not about that. I just wanted to feel more confident in doing it because I was really bubbling up the words.
Then feel confident in your bumbling. That makes you authentic. I will be in front of rooms and I will create words from nothing. I don't know where they came from, but no one has an idea what it is, including me. And it's okay. Just own it and be confident that time on task on the actual piece is going to make you better. Imagine for a moment you're having this conversation and the person on the other end also bumbles with their speech.
I mean,
You're going to have an immediate connection. We're so in our own heads that we have to be perfect. And you know what sucks about that? Who in this room is actually pretty smooth and tight and good at their conversations? Yeah, I am. So you know what happens a lot of the time? People hang up because they think it's a recording. I get people not believing I'm a real person when I start the call. That's my challenge. I need to be more bumbling.
Like less grammatical. And that's, sorry, Russ, but I wanted to play with Carrie, because Carrie, you would seem even more authentic, and someone, oh, I'm sorry, just whatever voicemail you said, I meant to say this. Long day, that you just seem more like a real person instead of like a robot or someone, or like a typical, where you get these outside from, it seems like outside country salesman that's like very robotic, even if they're a person. Just speaking that way seems very authentic. So I just wanted just to give that little nugget to Carrie, to give her that boost. And you can't, like, the way that you speak, you can't practice it enough until you do the live kind of back and forth. That's really where you're going. That's where coach and all of us have continued to develop our skills by talking, asking more questions. That is my thing, where I feel I can talk and be smooth or whatever, but I was like, I need to shut up. I need to ask more questions and not be the talker. That is where I'm working on implementing that in my mind. So I just wanted to give that little nugget to Carrie.
By the way, that's another great takeaway. If you aren't comfortable with your talking, if you're bumbling on your words, like she said, shut up, ask a question, and shut the hell up. That's a great solution to the problem. Hey, Chris.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Good morning, Roy.
Good. Roy. Yes, the ROI, the Roy. Hey, just a good reminder. And I will tell you, I remind my organization, I remind my team, I can connect with anybody. I've always, it's just a gift. And we are in the connections business. We're not in the real estate business. We're in the relationship business that happens to be in the real estate space. And so when you think on that, it takes the transaction, it takes we're trying to be interesting, where we want to be interested. And so if we think about when we call people, it's about being interested in them. It's not about us being interested. And then how do we connect? We ask great questions. We have to keep digging and digging and digging. You have to keep asking questions until you find that connection. And so I built my company on open houses. Many of you guys know I built an 8-figure business on open houses, and I can convert because I can ask great questions until we find that connection. And it might be something like they're wearing something on their apparel that's some kind of football team, or we start talking about the connection, or eventually there's a connection to where their kids went to the same college that my folks went to, and so there's a connection there. And then once you find that connection, you go in that direction, and you just keep going, you keep going. And it's all about being interested in them. And then that's how you build that bond. And that's how you convert business, is that don't go into a phone call or don't go into an open house trying to be interesting. Just be interested in people and greet them, love on them, have a genuine interest in them, how you can help them, because you have something that you can help them. But we're trying to find a connection. And so don't take it personal. just like Russ was saying, don't take it personal. Just delete them from your life or move on. There's more people. So anyway, I thought I'd just share that. This is a great refresher, a great book.
Here, Chris, here's the other huge nugget that you kind of slipped in there. If you're nervous, if you're concerned about your words, if any of that is going on, it is selfish and narcissistic behavior. Because it's about you, not about them. If you truly, like Chris is saying, are coming from contribution and making it about them, you're being interested rather than attempting to be interesting. Now it's not self-centered. It is service. And that is going to change your entire game, all your conversations and your business when it's about them. That is awesome, Chris. What else you guys have?
By the way, that's one of the agreements I believe that Chris mentioned. Don't take it personal. Or the 4.
Yeah. That is one of the 4 agreements going back to January.
Like
Don't take anything personally. Nicely done, Caesar.
I just saw like a rethink of the 4 agreements, so don't think I like still remember from that. It was like a week or 2 ago that I saw the 4 agreements again, and it so like stuck to me. And then when Chris said it, don't take it personal, I'm like, that was one of the 4. So don't think I still remember from like January.
Nice. Justin, brother, what do you got?
I like that what you were just saying. So anytime that I've been nervous or uncomfortable and I want to do, those were narcissistic moments. That's funny. What I actually clicked my mic to say was this. You had asked what this reading inspired us to do or think or what have you. I think for a long time I've looked at my database as some kind of monster. Like I would rather make calls than track calls. For whatever reason, I've been reluctant to write anything down. So I've been starting to do that the past couple of days. And this morning, between our earlier call and this call, I attended a half a dozen funerals. So I went through my database and eliminated some of the dead contacts. And any of the ones that were top of mind to me are actually genuine friends of mine. It was very interesting to see, though, that of the people in my age group, like plus or minus 5 years that have passed away, it's like a quarter to a third of them were pretty well buttoned up. Just something happened. The other 2/3 to 3/4 were like the wildest people. So not to throw their names out there, but they would be the people that had a different cell phone every 18 months or whatever. So going through there, it lightened up probably at least a dozen, maybe even 20 contact slots in my list just to deal with those. And the weight of that, being taken off was huge. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in this space, and without making the calls and tracking this stuff, it can't happen.
So I'm going to give you guys my 6-step process again for this, which can all be done on paper. In fact, you could have sheets printed out of your database to do this. So if, the night before you said, okay, I'm going to take this section of my database and call it tomorrow, you could print those sheets. Now, odds are right now in your world for 90% of you, your database exists of phone numbers, names, maybe emails, and no other data. They're blank slates. So here's my 6-step process. This is what I do every single day, all day when I'm making calls for those power hours. I open the contact. That might be bring the piece of paper up. I review the notes. I make the call. I write down notes from the call, otherwise known as logging the notes. The more detail, the better, by the way. I set the next appointment for me, the next call, maximum 91 days, actually, maximum 91 days. And then I close the contact, set it aside. Open the contact, review the notes, make the call, log the notes, set the task, close the contact. It's that easy. By the way, it's gamify. I'm going to do this on everyone. Even if all I did was leave a message, I go LM for the logging of the notes. So now when I look, I can see LM, 2 in a row. This third time, I might send a video text. This third time, I might hit direct messenger on social media. I might do a different way of leaving a contact this time. And I will tell you, following the 6 steps, calling real estate agents, building relationships for the last 4 years, I get complimented all the time on my follow-up game, and I get complimented all the time on just what an amazing memory I have. Because I remember that they were taking a family vacation through a bus company for 2 weeks through the national park system on the West Coast. You know, not quote West Coast, but up the mountains. So when I called them yesterday, said, "Hey, Rob, man, how was that bus trip that you started in Las Vegas and headed up through the national parks?" And he gave me a 8-10 minute sales pitch for that bus company. It was such a great time. It was awesome. He first time he'd ever done it, and he travels every quarter. And he said, "These guys do it right." It was awesome. The fact, though, that I had the notes and now was making a call based on it, after the first time, it becomes easy. The first time you put the notes in, the first conversation as you're re-engaging and starting, you got to make sure to ask questions about how they're doing and what's going on now and what their plans are, what they're doing later. You get that, you will always have a context for the next conversation, the next conversation, the next conversation, and stay in what I call the dance with your database. That's what these 6 steps. This is the 6 steps of the dance with your database. Jeanette, what do you?
Can I add one more step that I always see you do? And so maybe it's a 7th step. You log that you made that call.
Well, that's in my log the notes section.
Okay.
So that was step 4, log the notes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean the little tick marks? So
Your
I keep
tick
track.
marks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's on the tracking our data piece, and you're absolutely right. For everybody I actually have a conversation with, I keep a tick mark for tracking the data, and we will be talking about that later in the content, like in a week or 2. What else you guys have? Chris?
Hey, I think the big one there to really kind of set up and highlight and maybe do in big bold is set the next appointment. It's extremely important, and that way you're not, because a lot of people are ghosting you. I've got someone right now that I know. There's just that thing, and we didn't set the next appointment, and it's just because I see him often, but there's like, why is there some quiet? Why is there some obvious weirdness? And so I that's a great reminder. Set the next appointment before. Right.
Well, and remember that appointment is an appointment for you no matter what. So if you left a message, you're setting an appointment for your next reach out. And this ghosting thing, I absolutely want to address, because most of the time they're not ghosting you. Just like most of the time, you don't choose to ghost people. Life happens. Things happen. I mean, I'll tell you, I'll get so many texts in a day that there'll be times I don't return a text because it just keeps getting pushed down. and you're attempting to stay on top of them during those blocks of the day when you're working that. And it's not an intentional, oh my gosh, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to ghost Chris. That's not the case. It's life happens, man. So let's change the story, have some compassion, make it about them. Them ghosting you is, well, gosh, they think I'm doing this. They think I'm doing that. They don't want to talk to me. It's all about you again. Being curious what's going on in the world. Maybe something's going on with their family. I had somebody that finally a week ago, I sent a video text going, dude, I'm worried about you. Not like you. This isn't your behavior. What's going on in your world and how can I help? And he called back. Jeanette, your mic's hot. What do you got to close us out here?
I just was sorry, I could have closed it. What you said about ghosting, and just there's so many people who have talked on here. You've talked about Celeste talked about call and not, oh, who was it?
It was Kim.
Kim. 6 years. So I'm just going to tell you your story wherever you are, Kim. Maybe you're not here. However, she just left a message. You could consider that she was being ghosted and that she could have felt bad. Oh no, I'm bothering this person, but she didn't. She just kept leaving the call, and he calls her back at the only time he ever calls her back and gives her business because she stayed in touch with him. So you're right. It's not about us with the ghosting. We don't get to take that personally. And when people know that we care, the message we leave for them comes across. And if you think you're going to be disrupting them, then that's going to come across in your voice. Just care.
And we absolutely know, we've already learned in the content, we're going to be interrupting their day, and that's okay. So let's go to Kim a moment, though. 6 years of a minimum 4 conversations a year. Well, excuse me, 4 messages a year for a $10,000 commission check listing. So she spent, let's just say 4 messages. Let's say each one took 2 minutes. So that's 8 minutes a year times 6 years. That's 48 minutes for $10,000. Just want to put that in context for everybody. All right. That's why we get out of our heads and we just keep doing the work.